Lamed. It's going to be number Gimel. Now, what were we talking about? The subject is Shaviyah Alaihu, is that this is the Aliyah of Malchus to Bina, which is one of the most important things that we could possibly be looking at. And it becomes empowered by itself. These are the words. And one of the things that I wanted to say, you have to excuse me, I've been traveling, and so I'm just still really on the road, and I feel the wheels are turning. And I'm kind of rambling on. I apologize. So we learned the power of the letter Aleph. Yesterday we saw this really amazing idea where he showed us, again, what I said earlier is that in Itzilus, Zer Anpin is Ma. And Itzilus, the Nukva of Zer Anpin, is the Revuah of Ma. And then he went and he said like this, what is Chav Charav, we saw this yesterday, is that if you spell out the Milui of Revuah, spell out the Milui in a Revuah form, you find 6 Alephs there. But the very first letter, which corresponds, he wants to say over here to the concept of Bracious, it doesn't have an Aleph in it. So we look over there, and this is that's the metaphor for Haruv. So what's he telling me? He's telling me that at the very beginning, was like Tahuvo. Why? Because the Aleph itself is what brings the life into it, because that's coming from Bina. That's the way I understood it. So when you're missing the Aleph, that means the Bina is not present in that place. And somehow this leads to moving up of Malchus actually going to Bina instead of Bina coming into Malchus, I think, through the various different channels. Let's look at the Yaf Shah. He explains over here, the Sifra Tzniutzam, I read B'inyan Ha'Allah's Biruri Mayim Nukvim. Over there, he wants to talk about the Birurim. Now, this is a different drush on the same ideas. That in the future, when we're talking about this time of the 7th millennia, tis chazek la'alos mayim nukvin ma'atzma. So the Malchut itself, by herself, will be able to elevate mayim nukvin by herself. Now, I'm not sure what that means. And this is his language. He said, Masha amat istake b'luchudoi. That's that he's going on that phrase, that it becomes empowered by itself, singularly. Hu hadavar shekasa Rabbeinu zal b'sefer Malbusharim. This is also found in Malbusharim, because ad sheyavo shilu b'nei Hashem. So this is going to be the status until the time of Shiach. Ka'oz nukva dezer anpin his ora ba'atzmo. So he uses a male, female. He says the nukva dezer anpin becomes aroused from herself. La'alos mayim nukvin b'li siyur l'shamas tzadikim. So what's this all about? So I'm not sure what he means by siyur l'shamas tzadikim. Where did tzadikim come in here? So tzadikim is a concept of yisod. So without the yisod, this is my translation. I understand. So he said, "Believe siyur l'shamas tzadikim." If you don't have the siyur of the yisod, in other words, for the chotem of Erik Anpin, she is receiving more or less directly, and we see in Kriya Shema that perhaps it passes through all the different stages, but basically it's the DNA, I'm starting to use the DNA of Erik Anpin goes directly into her, without it being changed into DNA of all the other different parts of him along the line. Kamavur, so that's been explained. Re'gam b'shar ruach hakodesh over there. Wow. So namsinos alalamdim. So we find out that we're learning like this. Shala'ase lavo in the future. Yimshach ha'aras ha'chotem de Erik Anpin. So you'll see that there's going to be an extension of the radiance that comes from the nose of Erik Anpin, which is extremely panimi. Shehi tikun azayin mizayin tikun ikugolta nukva de pardashka. So this reminds me of something else that we saw. Let me read it again. Shehi Tikkun Zion. This is the 7th Tikkun. Now, it's in the 7 Tikkunim of the Gulgalta, the Erik Anpin, the last one, the final one, from which the ultimate flow comes out. I guess that's where it comes out. Is the nose? It's the seventh tikkun. Bechinas Malchus da'atik, because this is the concept of the Malchus da'atik. He wants to say that the Malchus of Atik is going to be a direct relationship in that seventh millennia to the Nukva, to the Malchus herself. So the Nukva, so that ultimately goes to the Nukva, the Zer Anpin, he Malchus the Atzilus, which is the Malchus of Atzilus. By Yadei Cain, in this way, Lo titztarech he l'neshamas tzaddikin l'alus Mayim Nukvim. So therefore, she doesn't need an input. Now, I'm still worried about this phrase neshamas tzaddikin because it needs to be developed. And normally, this is coming from this. Normally, tzaddik means yisod. Elohi ma'atzma ha'alam Mayim Nukvim ayidei shetizbaro kol ha'berurim, because also it comes up at the point at which all of the birurim are mizbarer. At that point, there could be a direct relationship. I guess everything is way up high. So everything comes out. Birurim v'tigma bekocha of otzem yada. So it makes her much more powerful. That's what it means when it says that she becomes powerful, empowered by herself. Okay, so I was just finishing up, and at the bottom of the page of the right column, it says, Ella he ma'atzma. That is because of the relationship. Now, I mentioned the fact that the birurim are already mavurah. So everything is already up on the top. So everything is in the rosh, let's say, so to speak. And so therefore, the light becomes more and more direct. So he says, again, Ella he ma'atzma ta'ala Mayim Nukvim. She by herself is bringing up Mayim Nukvim, which needs clarification. Okay, so what we're actually getting is different perspectives on this particular one about Yistaket Beluchudoi. We're on number Dalet here on page Tov Kuf Lamed. It says,
I have to take this call.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, we're back here. Yeah, the AC is out at my house.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So we're all, really dressed down here. Hopefully, the guy come today. So here we're on number Dalet on Tov Kuf Lamed. It says Pirish Maris Ruk Bir Kan Lefidarko. So Istanke Beluchudoi. So that's the phrase he's working on. Kolomar, this Chazik Levado Limloch. So now it fortifies itself to be sovereign. She kol hashefa shall elu hayud beis tikunim kolu b'socho. Now here we come over here and we have this. So that's interesting. So that's what he wants to say. Is that everything? That's another way of looking at it. My question is about this number yud beis tikunim. So I have something that I can say about it. Is that learning with Yaakov Cronenberg? He always used to say Atik Vanok, Arich Vanok, and then you go through all the different things. You wind up going through all these different pieces, although you're talking about, I don't know exactly what, but that's another way of getting to 12. So I don't know. But anyway, because we know there's 70 kunim altogether, and here's Yud Beis. So Tikunim Kol Kol So Umachmazet Nishbar Mifnei Shalo Hoyu Kololo Lo Lisvabu Kol Ha'or. Now Lema this Chazek, it became very strong, so that all the shefa of the Yud Beis Tikunim would be inside of it. Because of this, and what originally happened is that it broke. Shalo Hoyu Yochol Lo Lisvol Kol Ha'or. Okay, so I'm not sure what that said. Let me go on to the next one. But Farish Talmud over there, Bir Khan, he says, the Iri Be'inin Malchus de Tohu. He's talking about the Malchus of the broken, that's what I would think, the broken Spheros. broken the kings. Shalom nishbaru kudugmas shar hamalachim. Now we said that before, and I thought that's contradictory from what we learned in the Yotzei Chaim, that it also broke. Here he said it didn't break like all the rest of them. So that's the second time we saw this idea. Zelashon lashon the istakev. It's on a little bit the istakev levada, that it stood, that sort of being said strong by itself below nishbra adkan, and it wasn't part of the breaking of the six kings. For yesh kan, so here's another one. Here's number vav. Yesh kan od bir b'divrei Ramak. Let me before we get to that, let me just point out something, and you have to excuse me. I've been on the road and I'm just really rambling. Baruch Hashem, it's Erev Shabbos. Is this concept that he counted the seventh plateau, let's say where Malchus is going to go from the bottom to the top. So then normally when you think of Bina is at the top, not at the bottom. But I'm just noticing that he did that, and I guess it's very obvious since you're moving Malchus up, so that you were talking that it's all that Mayim Nukvim and all of that is that all of that is going upwards. So that was the reason why. And over here he said, Yesh kam od bir b'divrei Ramak. Ramak was talking about colors in different places, but Klaus of Mayim Sheviyol like with the Estapek with the Vadoy. Now he's working about. He says the Aleph HaShvi'i hu besod Shabbos. It's the concept of Shabbos. Behind the Shechozrim kol Ashroshim al Makorim Elyon. So like we get a weekly Shabbos, and this is the ultimate root of Shabbos. Then it becomes empowered by itself. So he says, Ray B'or Yakor, he says, Shabir Kani Smith of the Fidarko, V'noide ki menuchas Shabbos misod ha'chochma. Ki sham sod Shabbos Bereshis, because in the Chochma, he says, is the secret of the Shabbos Bereshis. Now, before this, just in my thinking as I'm looking at this, is that, we were talking about Bina. And we're always thinking that on Shabbos is what happens is it's an Aliyah to Bina, maybe the Bina of our world. Here he says that Shabbos, ki benuchza, the rest from Shabbos, comes from the secret of Chochma, Shisham Sod Shabbos Bereshis, because that's where you find the Shabbos Bereshis. The Shavisas Olam Gam came. So that when the world also is going to come to rest, it goes the same way. Ki memenu yatzil ka'omer, because from this, that's where it comes out from. What does it mean? Kula b'chochma sisa. Everything is made out of Chochma. Now that makes sense if you look at it from the Chochma point of view, because it's panimi to Bina. So the love yeshiva lishbos b'sod. So on this, to this, okay, yeshiva lishbos, it comes back. It goes with lashon Shabbos. The rest, b'sod hashabbos hashroshim el makorim. This is the Shabbos, which is the root Shabbos, the root of it. B'sod hayovel ima ilo'o. It's the secret of the yovel, which is ima ilo'o. Shehem kihel, I don't know these words. Kihel hachokma called kihel hachokma called nesibosecho. I didn't look that up. You know that pasuk?
No, but it means to gather.
Kihel is like what is it like? Huh?
Like kahal, a congregation.
Okay.
So it gathers together.
All right, good. Shesham kihel hachokma, gathered together, call nesibosecho, all of its different paths. Now, there's a note on this, which I am not looking at right now. V'hainu omrim sheviyol alaihu. So he says that the seventh on them. Behind the Bereshis Yom Shabbos. So he's saying, this idea like this, to me, he's saying that although we count it as number 7, going down, it's really number 1. Because that's where everything started from. But it goes, I haven't quite explained it the way I see it. Behind the Omer Shiviyol Laichu, the 7th one is on top of it. Behind the Bereshis. And everything flows out of the Bereshis, but it flows Yom Shabbos, which is the day of Shabbos. The Estake B'Vadoy Levada Vavada, that it It empowers itself by itself. That's for sure true. Shahare v'asav rucho, it gathered together its ruach, his pashtus and nisivosav, and the spread of all of its branches aloft to it. So he said, well, he gathers it, it all gets gathered back. So he's saying that the world in which we're living now is a branch, a distant branch. It's going to be called back. The more that Malchus is aroused every day, so Shuvas Hadavarim, like Hadavarim Alav, I'm not sure what that means. Shuvas Hadavarim Alav, as like an Indian Kesher Hechalos, like for example, the words, the phrase are Besod Shuvas Hadavarim Alav. I guess it means bringing the words back to him, everything coming backwards. Ke'inyan Kesher Hechalos, which is the concept of the tying together of all of the palaces of light in the lower worlds. Kach Yichya, he's ordered us Abina B'Chochma, so the same thing is going to be the his Urvis, not just of everything going back to Bina, but ultimately it goes back to Chochma. So the Tshuva is called an Imsoyim Olachu, which is the secret that everything comes back to her. Vistake Beluchodoy, and she becomes powerful by herself. Okay, I think that's it for today. Something to think about. Okay, call Tub, all the best. Thank you.